Hey everyone, it is your host Damien here from Hybrid Heroes, and this is the HYROX Heroes podcast, where we talk everything that you need to know when it comes to getting ready for your next HYROX race. Excited to have you here, and let's get into the episode. Hello everyone, today is a podcast episode that I have been anticipating for some time now, and I'm so excited to finally be able to talk to you as I have achieved one of my goals, which was to get a sub-60 result at HYROX. Now, you might have a very similar goal in mind, and it might not even be sub-60. It might be sub-70, sub-80, sub-90. You might be trying to go under 2 hours. And today I'm going to talk about what really had to happen in me to get this result. And when I say what happened in me, this is what I went through, but this is what I coach people through as well. And these are the things that I know people need to go through to get a better result, to keep making progress, to keep moving forward. It doesn't matter where you are right now on your journey in your life, and it doesn't really matter what goal you have. These are principles. But I'm going to talk to you that I am very much just like everyone else. And over time, all of these principles and these points I'm going to cover today, I didn't do all at once. But as you go further, as you climb that mountain higher and higher, you have to incorporate more and more. It's like to get a sub-60 result isn't necessarily, just a certain running session that I did or a type of interval or a certain selection of strength movements that got me over the line. Obviously, we have our training programs and protocols, and we're learning and refining, and that's part of the process, as I'll talk about. But there's something much bigger at play. It's, what's going on in my mindset. Me, how am I keeping myself showing up every day, right, to keep working towards my goal? And that's exactly what I'm going to go through in this episode. I'm going to break down what it takes to truly achieve a goal. But if you are, again, in this HYROX space and you have ambitious goals, and this is probably one thing I see a lot, is people, definitely in HYROX, like I've focused all my attention over the last sort of 18 months for now into HYROX training, and I see people want to set these big goals and they're amazing, but then they want to achieve it in like 3 months, right? And sometimes from where they are and where they want to be, they underestimate the process. They underestimate the time frame. And there are some people who come into this sport and achieve great results really quickly, but they have a whole history, right, of going through a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about here today. So they didn't just show up and become amazing. They put in the work and they've gone through their journey. So if you haven't sort of been following my journey, Hybrid Heroes, and what's been going on, I'll fill you in because there's been a story brewing. And so I broke the sub-60 mark. So it's been it's a time frame that is pretty much close enough to achieving a world championship qualifier for most categories. Now the sport and the people are getting so much faster that, not in every category you will definitely do that. I attempted this, I've gone for 4 attempts at the sub-60, and this is in doubles racing as well. To do that in solo is a different beast again. So I'm definitely talking about my journey as a doubles racer. And it started last June in 2024, where I partnered with Gabrielle Nakora Baker, and we attempted mixed doubles, and we did 3 attempts at the sub-60. It was like a 102, a 101, a 1 hour, like 36 seconds, and then in Sydney 2025, in July, we broke. Gabrielle went on to achieve many great things. We did 3 attempts, and then I actually did the 4th attempt in Sydney with her husband, Jordan. And we did men's pro doubles. and we got that done. So we did a 59:36, which was really awesome. So we broke that mark. So there was 4 attempts, and I did a couple other solo races in between as well. So it's been about 7 or 8 HYROXs in total I've sort of done in that period. Our brand, Hybrid Heroes, we've been training every single week. We've been dedicated towards HYROX, and my training has just been specifically on strength training, running, and just improving HYROX. So there's been a lot of dedication going towards it. So that's already shows you, again, just to get a few, really a couple minutes difference. It's taken over a year of training and a lot of dedication towards achieving this one thing. And that's already a lesson there that we learn sometimes, and something that a lot of people might experience is when you're very new and very beginner at, especially like anything, especially in training, I see it all the time with clients, is you make those beginner gains. Those beginner gains are glorious. It's when you're going into the gym and your back squat is going from 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 kilos to 80, all in the space of 4 to 5 weeks, and you're making this tremendous progress. Same with running, is you can start running, all of a sudden you couldn't do 3 kilometers, now you're doing 3 kilometers non-stop, now you're doing 4, now you're doing 5, now you're doing 8, and now your pace is getting quicker. But what starts to happen is, as you start to get fitter, and as then the progress, or the rate of progress, seems to slow down dramatically. And then when you start to find, get towards your peak potential, just to get that 1% improvement, right? Just to get 10 seconds faster on your pacing, just to lift that little bit more on the barbell, it really takes a lot of effort. And this is where everything then starts to get looked at, not just training. Because in those, again, if we think about those beginner gains, you can make all that progress without even changing your nutrition. But again, as you start to climb that mountain, as you start to get fitter, then it's now I've got to look at nutrition. Go a little bit further, now I've got to look at sleep. Everything starts to matter. So it is crazy how we have to then put so much more effort in all areas to make such a slight improvement. All right. So if you're someone who is on your journey and you're climbing and you've had a couple of attempts, it's real. It gets harder towards, the better version, right? The more optimal version of you. It's a harder journey, right? And that's why very few people can go down that road and continue on that road, because it gets harder and harder as you go. So today I'm going to cover, and I've put it into 10 rules that got me there. And it got me there. It's got lots of other people there, right? And I'm going to share these with you. And these are 10 that I think are very insightful. And again, you can have 2 training programs. You can have the Hybrid Heroes training program. You can have someone else's training program. But if we don't apply these principles to these, right, you will get very different results. So it's not a training program that is going to solve everything for you. Training programs give you the framework, the structure. They give you one part of the puzzle. But what is 90% of the result is what I'm going to talk through with you right now. And I know that if you don't need to come off this call and go, I need to apply all 10 of these. How do I do that? It needs to be, you need to identify what are the things that you are already doing here, which is great. Maintain that. But then what is the next thing that I can focus on? And that's why, especially with this sport, again, sport in general, training in general, but especially HYROX, is as we go from event to event, because sometimes they can be spaced quite close to each other. Think about Sydney. We just had Sydney here in Australia. Perth is 2 months later, and then 3 months later is Melbourne. So it's we need to think of each 3 of those events as there is something new that I can focus on to Sydney, and then there's something new that I can focus on to Perth, and then to Melbourne, and understand that's the journey. So understand that I'm not going to be as complete Sydney as I will, and same in Perth. I'm not going to be as complete in Perth, and in Melbourne, I'm just getting better and better as I go. Because again, a lot of people get disheartened at their result, let's call it in Sydney, and it's yeah, but now you can learn something new coming into Perth, and then you can learn something new and focus on something new. So it's completely a journey. So really stretch your timelines when it comes to your goals, because that is where success lies in the future. Okay, so let's dive into these. Rule number 1, right, is, and I think this is like really the foundation of everything, is we have to set a clear, meaningful goal. So it's crazy, and I really want you to reflect right now. We have goals, right? And I'm pretty sure everyone will sort of, well, I'd like to hope you have a goal when it comes to training in HYROX, and you know what that is. But what's really important is you have to have a clear goal, right? Because just saying, I want to do HYROX and I want to go sub-70, right? It's specific, it's clear, but it's like, can it be clearer, right? Is it actually sub-70? Sometimes we just throw out a number, even sub-60. We just want to throw that out. But what does that mean? And then you can even be clearer again. It's like, am I really, and then the reality is, it's like, do you want the sub time? Do you want the sub-60? Do you want sub-70? Or do you want to be fitter? Do you want to feel better about yourself? Do you want more confidence? Are there certain areas in your training that you really want to improve? Like, I want to be able to run like this and I want that. And sometimes we just throw a idea of, if I can go sub-60 or if I can go sub-70, if I can do that, then everything else that I want will be achieved. So what happens is as you start doing all the work to get to a sub-60 or a sub-70 result, you actually don't really enjoy it because it's not really working towards your goal. And I say this all the time, and I love saying it because I know it's so real for a lot of people, is a lot of people enter this space because it's fun and they want to look good. Like, that's sometimes as simple as it is. You look at a HYROX athlete and they got abs and they look lean and they're freaking got muscle, and it's like, I want to be like that. Like, look how happy they look how fun it looks, look how confident they are, and here I am, I feel a bit overweight, I feel a bit shit, and that's what I want to do. So we say, I'm going to train for HYROX and I'm going to go sub-60. It's like, they're two different things. Two different things. Because achieving sub-60 means that you got to fuel yourself like a performance athlete, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a six-pack, because you got to eat 400 grams, 500 grams of carbohydrates a day. So sometimes, if we just want to get abs and look great, is we can tackle that differently. Your nutrition is going to look different. The intensity of your training is different. Now, can you still go out and do HYROX? Yes. Can you still go out and do a really good time? Absolutely. But you have to know what is driving you. Now, that is just an example. Or your goal could be, I want sub-60. I want to be on the podium. I want to achieve this time because that's what I want. I want that achievement. Perfect. Great. Now, you got to eat. You got to fuel. You got to train, you got to do it. Now everything is very clear, right? So you got to set a clear, meaningful goal. Now these are 2 examples of many. You could be doing it to be an example in your household. Try to be the father or the mother of your family and just show that you can do things. You might just be going through a tough situation in life and you want to surround yourself more positive people. And you've now found health and fitness and a training club and all those things. Right? So I just think that we got to understand right from the word go. Rule number 1 is set a clear, meaningful goal. Write it on your board, write it on your mirror, right? And remind yourself every single day what you're working to, because progress equals happiness. So if we have a goal that isn't ours and we are working towards it, we are not going to be happy. We won't be happy. But if you're working towards the thing that you truly want, you will feel happy instantly. That is truly then, like Alice KD say this, like, enjoy the journey. And that is really what it's about. It's about enjoying the journey, not just getting the time. And that's exactly what I've done along my journey and achieving my result, is I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. And, I achieved the goal. But it doesn't stop there. It's not like game over, cool. It's like, I want to get back to training. I want to get back to my friends. And I want to, continue to just make progress. Which is a great tie-in to rule number 2. So rule number 2 is create the right environment. So your results are a product of your environment. Like, it's like, if you haven't heard this like before, the importance of environment, it is huge. And I think, we hear it all the time in, in personal development, in business coaching. We notice generally, in like group social settings, is your environment is everything. But I don't think enough importance is really put around it. It's like, as humans, like we work better in packs, we work better in teams. And yes, a lot of people still can be solo, but it's like, I don't think, all the major things in the world that have been achieved have just been happened by one person. It's like they worked as a team, as an environment. Now, what do environments do? It's like, well, have you ever had to do a big HYROX session? So like our HYROX Friday session is a really good example. So we do a big HYROX session. We post it in the group every Friday. And it's the session that we do as a big group and community here in Melbourne at United Training Grounds. And I know some people that do that on their own. Why? Because they're not around us. They can't come train with us. They don't have access, to a group. And they do the sessions on their own. And I see it, and it's so awesome to see them do it. And I've done a couple like this too, and it's like, it's just so hard. It is so hard to do it, because you're just with yourself. You're just in your mind. The energy can be quite low. Like, have we ever done that kind of session where it's like, geez, I really just don't want to do an hour 20 HYROX session right now on my own, grinding away. And then even if you do, the output and the effort, right, you can't say would be as good as if you had 20, 30 people around you, just bringing a lot of energy. And then think of that week after week after week after week. Now, that is just, again, one example. But your gym, like the gym you go to, are you training on your own all the time? And again, there's nothing wrong with training on your own, but it's like, then what's my environment? Do I have friends or family that support me? Does the space I train in, actually motivate me? Do I get to talk to people? And the right environment too doesn't always necessarily need to mean where you're training, but it's like, am I talking to people about HYROX? Am I in groups? Am I online? Like, again, Hybrid Heroes online group. We have an amazing group and community there because it's an environment of people that can communicate and talk to each other, and that can inspire you. But the environment, it's huge, and it's been a massive game changer for the Hybrid Heroes crew here in Melbourne. And if you see us on socials and you see our Fridays session that we do, it literally started from 3 of us, just 3 people were training, and we did that consistently. And we went to HYROX and we got the attention of a few other people because we made it look cool and fun. And then a few other people tagged on. A couple of those people happen to be Jordan and Gabrielle Nakora Baker. And, we're seeing what they're doing in the sport, but they came into it. Like, Jordan was like about 20 kilos heavier, couldn't run because he always had knee issues, was not a runner at all. And Gabrielle was always, an extremely fit and amazing sort of athlete, but she definitely was not. She was more like really focused on her strength training and definitely not conditioned as she is now. That's just an example. Then our group, we had Tyler, the owner of United, got involved. Then our group grew to 6 or 7, and now we're getting 30 to 40 people there on a Friday because we create an environment, and the people that are getting results is ridiculous because every week people just, they rock up, they push themselves, not like they pushed intensity and they kill themselves. They just push themselves to be better because people around them are just wanting to be better. So if you're getting better, then I better get better. Ooh, you're focusing on your nutrition. I better focus on my nutrition. Oh, you've trained every day, like 5 times this week and doing the things that I know I should be doing. I'm going to do the same, or else I'm going to fall behind. That's the herd effect, the mammalian effect, and we become those who we surround ourselves with, which is really great. And the one thing that I really encourage and it's something that I hold and monitor very closely is I protect sort of that environment as well, because we need people that, and you need to be this in your environment, is you need to be not ego driven. Now, we all have egos, and they come out. Like, someone runs past me on a run, I'm going to try chase them. That's my ego doing it. But we should never create negativity, or we should never, bring energy that is ego fueled, that then can, by putting someone else down or comparing in negative ways or creating that, it really can create a ripple. You should really need to reflect and understand. And I believe when it comes to environments and groups, because I've seen plenty of environments and crews fall apart and become toxic and all the rest of it. And I think the principle here is just really understanding that, we got to lead with compassion to others. And part of like even what I'm covering today is understanding that everyone's on their own journey. And if we can just support everyone, doesn't matter where you are, who you are, doesn't matter if you come into the same space, is we should see people for where they are at, and just provide that space, just like you want that for yourself. You want to go into a space and feel seen, you want to feel safe, and you want to feel like the people around me want to see me grow and succeed. And if everyone just does that to each other, that is how you create a ridiculously great environment. So, your environment right now could just be you. You might just be one person, but you got to start by creating that environment. It starts in your mind, in your head, and then that resonates, and then you will attract, and then before you know it, you will have 2 or 3 people around you. Before you know it, you'll have 10 people around you. Before you know it, you'll have 20, 30 people around you, and it can just snowball from there. So environment is everything, and a huge factor as to help me continue to evolve as a HYROX athlete. Okay, so rule number 3. Okay, so I believe when it comes to, this kind of ties into a little bit what I said with choose your own environment, but it's surround yourself with people who push you. Now, we have an environmental perspective, so again, training spaces, crews, people. Now, with this in particular, I want to sort of highlight the people who you directly, partner with in training, and you want to select people who are going to challenge you. Okay, now it's uncomfortable, and sometimes we are signing up to do HYROX with people that are like nowhere near as like fit as yourself, right? And you could be that person who is going to push that other person. But I really need you to ask yourself, am I choosing that? And I see it all the time. Am I choosing that person because I know it's just easy? Like, I know I'm the fitter one, and I know that I don't need to train as hard, and I know I don't need to. I know I'm good, and it's just going to be fun. And like, look, that could be your goal, right? But deep down, you got to ask yourself, like, am I scared? Am I actually scared and worried about what putting myself around someone who will push me and stretch me will involve? That will involve my weaknesses will be exposed. That will involve I got to reflect on myself. That will involve I actually have to be better. I can't keep coming up with all my excuses that I normally do. And that's what putting yourself around someone who will push you will do. And this is really important because I know a lot of people select that partner, they get with that partner, and then everything like I just spoke about comes up. And then they start to like sabotage either that relationship, or they bring like their worst version to the training sessions. They come up with excuses. Why? Because you're uncomfortable. You are uncomfortable, and you are meant to be uncomfortable. If you pick a partner who raises your standards, that forces you to grow, that forces you to keep up with them. Because I know some people, they'll select a partner who, might be slightly behind them, but then that partner starts putting in the work. They start, doing the training, and they start doing the running, and now they're getting fitter, and they're getting faster, and they're looking better. And you're like, holy shit, what the hell is going on here? And, that is the partnership that you want. You want that partnership. You want to find people who push you to become better, right? If you are around people, and if you are selecting people intentionally that do not challenge you or push you or keep your standards super high, right, to where you want to be, right, you have taken the easy road. And this easy road is not going to help you make progress. It's not going to propel you. It's just then you are just going through the motions. Yes, you can enjoy the journey, but again, I believe the true enjoyment comes in progress, and this will not be making progress. True enjoyment comes in achieving something greater than you already are. All right, so rule number 3, right, this is your reminder. Surround yourself with people, select your partners, right, select your training groups, select your coach, right, people who will actually challenge you. And again, that challenge will come with discomfort. Okay, so this is something that I've learned because I have invited and selected people into my space that challenge me and push me, and it gets me uncomfortable. And that's like the beautiful thing about Hybrid Heroes and what I get to go through. And I'm so blessed more than anyone in our crew because I get to interact with so many people that just challenge me in every single way. And I'm just like, how cool is this? That I get to learn something from every single person. And as long as I lean into the discomfort and just go for it, just learn, just apply, just train, just try keep up, just try do that, try improve. It's part of improvement, okay? Improving and progress doesn't feel like a luxury holiday. It doesn't feel like a luxury holiday. So big one there. Rule number 4. Again, some of these things are tying in, but they deserve their own point. So you have to raise your standards. So if you know famous business guy, it's like, what does he call him? Calls himself the why guy. Tony Robbins. If you know Tony Robbins, greatest ever to have lived, to help millions of people's lives, and he helps them with their mindset, helps them really change the way they think. And one big thing that he says is like, you have to raise your standards. Like, and this is your personal standards. So wherever you are, if you're stuck at a certain time, if you've done HYROX and you can't break the Sub-60, you can't break the Sub-90, 70, whatever you are stuck at, it's because you now have found the limit or the ceiling to your standards. So you must raise your standards. It is that simple. Now, personal standards. Standards are how I approach my training, the quality of my training sessions, my nutrition. I have to improve my standards of nutrition. Sleeping, recovery, I have to raise standards there. Therapy. Am I going to go see physios, and am I going to chiros? Like, everything in your life, you need to start observe. My friendships. Am I stretching myself too thin everywhere? It's like you now need to raise those standards. And it could be, even sort of raising the standards in your environment, right? It's like, are people coming to the gym, rocking up late, getting half the session in, and, just not doing the best they can? It starts with you. It's like, you got to be there on time. You got to set the standard. You got to communicate. And just little things like that in every area is going to start to make a huge effect. You'll start to become more disciplined. You'll start to be more consistent at the habits that you need to start growing and moving forward, right? And then you'll start to find, once you set those standards, it's like, wow, things started to improve. But what happened? Well, I used to, kind of like slow down towards the end of the run or the training session. But now I raise my standard and I just keep pace all the way through. Like, that's a new standard. New standards, new results. So I would look to everything right now. Where do you feel like the standards aren't being met? Where do you feel like situations, people, training sessions, right, that just, you are not applying yourself 100%? It's really interesting in the gym, if we're doing like a bench press or anything, and we got 10 reps to do. Isn't it always interesting that we always find that we always finish at 10 exactly? If the program says 10, I do 10. But maybe you could have done 11. Maybe you could have done 12 in that set. Maybe the weight you picked up, you could have done more. But why stop at 10? 10 is just a number. But if your standard is to go to failure on every set, if your standard is to make sure that you push yourself and get the most out of everything, it's like, why would you stop at 10? It's like running. Like, I see it as a coach. I can see people when the clock is counting down and they've done an hour workout or a 20-minute workout and there's 10 seconds to go, 10, 9, and they start slowing down. They start stopping. Some stop. And it's like 5 seconds, 4, 3, and they're already like high-fiving people. 2, 1, and it stops. It's like, you should go to the clock stops. Like, you don't slow down. You don't give up, right? It's like doing a HYROX and getting to like the last 10 wall balls and then just like slowing down. Or you've done your 100 and then you just like walk slowly over the finish line. It's like standards. Like, if you're training, you're training. Like, go all the way to the end. Don't slow down. Give everything you got when the clock stops. Now, this is kind of like a metaphor. Like, it's like, understand this as a concept. If I'm eating food, I'm gonna sit and focus and be intentional eating my whole meal, not half of it. Everything. It's an attitude. It's a standard, right? So you have to sharpen up all your standards, right? Big one. Got me fired up with that one. Okay, rule number 5. Right, we have to train for the race, not the session. Train for the race, not the session. What does that mean, Damien? Good question. So we have to think about when we have our goal. All right, we know our goal. Now, where is your goal? Is your goal 6 months in the future? Is it 12 months in the future? Is it a certain race? So we have to understand that we are working towards the goal, the performance, the peak, right? We are climbing that mountain. And today, in the training session, I have to apply myself. I have to train smart. I have to get what I need out of the training today to move me forward. What that might mean is today I need to refine my skill. I need to refine my technique. I need to repeatedly hit my pacing on the ergs so I can learn how to improve. I can learn how to build speed and technique into my session. Today I need to display all of these things. I do not need to go out and win today's workout and be the fastest in my class. I don't need to overexert and not factor any of those things that I spoke about, because that is then just trying to win the workout. And that person who is pushing harder, right, and who wins the workout is the one who typically doesn't come into the training session with intention and is the one who learns the least from that training session. They only learn how to push their body super hard. Where I've seen it, and I really want to share this with you, I've seen people who come into their start of their, journey, and when guided the right way and understand is they go, okay, well, week number 1, and it could be 6 months down the track, I need to just start slow. I need to get used to the movements. I need to feel comfortable with doing workouts that are this long, and they start super slow, and they're the slowest in their groups. They're the slowest in their environments. But then what happens is because they focus on building that base correctly, then they start to move on to the next phase, which is, now I'm going to start to increase some of my pacing. But I'm not just going to send it. I'm going to increase it, measure it this week, and just move it forward a little bit next week, move it forward a little bit the week after. So they're still the slowest in their group, but now they're building. They are building. Then what happens is they start going, now I'm going to refine my strength. I'm getting stronger now. My pace is improving. I'm getting more confident. I'm getting more, my skills, right, are improving. Now that person is keeping up with the group, right? And then they continue that process because they're not maxed out yet. They are just following a really good structure. They are moving at a pace that is building, and their body is adapting appropriately. Now, all of a sudden, they start going faster than everyone else, right? Why? Because they always were training for the race, not the season. And this is one thing, with me and reflecting on myself, is I'm someone who doesn't always necessarily win like when I win, no one's racing at our HYROX Friday sessions, but I'm not the fastest one there. Like people are running way faster than me. Even on some of the stations, you know, I'm up there. I'm completing the work in the time. Like our sessions are, you know, geared towards being really hard. So I'm completing everything, but people are performing better. But I perform when it, like, you know, but I always know I'm not trying to perform here. I'm trying to perform when it comes to race day. And that's one thing that I think great athletes do. And probably myself with some of my experience in competing in various sports is I know when to, like, I know what I'm building towards, and I know that race day, that's always gonna be where I give my full 100% intensity. So I know I need to perform in certain ways and markers, and yes, that, you know, in training I still need to keep leveling up that performance as it gets closer to the race. But I am not there trying to win the day. I'm there preparing myself mentally, physically, my skills, my technique, my tapering, my body, my recovery. Everything is gearing up for that day. So again, you know, and that's what I love about actually HYROX is, you know, when we think about groups and environments and who's the fittest one and all the rest, it's like, well, you know, everything can change so much: work, family, life, responsibilities, how much food you've ate on the day, all the rest of it. But it's like when you get that HYROX time, that's the measurement. That's the thing. So if my time was faster than your time, well, I'm the faster one out of us, like, if that makes sense. So, so again, that's where people, when you start training, because I see it as well, people complete a HYROX and maybe they just fell short of their time, or they didn't get the time they wanted. And guess what they do? They go back to training the next day, in that next week, and they train super hard. Is, again, they're already just missing the point. Is you don't need to now just throw intensity straight back at your training and train harder than ever and just hold on to that for, you know, 8 weeks or 12 weeks until your next race. Get back to the drawing board. Where do I need to improve, right? Build properly. My race is in 8 weeks. How can I maximize the time so that in 8 weeks I come to that race in the best condition possible? So this is why even in our Hybrid Heroes training on our training app is we have like 9 months of training that we provide. So you can, and they're in 12-week blocks. So you're 9 months out, 6 months out, and then we have our 12-week race ready program. And the race ready program is really where we really intensify things. That's why it's race ready. It's like, I'm going to start this and now I'm in race prep. But the 6 month out and the 9 month out, it's progression based. So the 9 month program is very lifestyle based, works on strength, endurance, and the intensity is quite moderate. The 6 month out is we start building the blocks in the engine. So we start incorporating more volume. We start incorporating a little bit more intensity, more repeatability, because it helps you build so then you are ready for that phase. So that is just a really good example of, like, we don't do 9 months of program where it's just like the same intensity all the way through. So again, we have to understand that when it comes to your goal, it doesn't matter really the timeline. 8 weeks, maybe you have 6 months, is you have to go, how do I maximize this time? And you got to look at everything. You got to look at physical, right? So how do I improve physically? How do I improve, you know, like with my nutrition and my energy systems? How do I improve mentally? How do I, you know, because if you just have to go and kill yourself for 8 weeks, it's going to be really hard, right? Mentally. So because I need to come to race day, calm, in control, confident, and ready to race, right? So don't train for today. Don't just kill yourself and send it today, right? Really think long term, think bigger picture, right? And that's going to help you make better decisions and choices in everything that you do. Whew. Okay, we're getting through it, guys. Rule number 6, stay disciplined, right? Especially when it's boring. So the one thing with HYROX is, what's great about it is the workout doesn't change. It doesn't change. You got to run and you got to do 8 stations, right? But what can happen with this too is the training doesn't always need to be new and shiny. You can definitely incorporate lots of different types of functional training to HYROX, but the best programs are the most simplest programs. And we even released our 2.0 version of our HYROX Ready program, and this was the one that got like Gab to Worlds, got multiple people under Sub-60 times, and it's a very simple structure. right? And the key to it is we just had to stay disciplined. Like, again, that's why I said right at the start of this podcast, there isn't a special technique that we did or a certain, selection of strength movements. The stars did not need to align in any certain ways, but we just needed to keep doing the work, right? And some days it felt boring. Some days we're like, okay, we've done this session before, we're doing it again because we need to make improvement on it. We're going for another run. I'm going for another zone 2. I'm waking up again at 5 a.m. in the morning to get ready to run when it's freaking cold. But it's like you have to stay disciplined and it will get boring. And we spoke about environment, how important that is. Well, we have our big HYROX Friday session, but for the majority of the week, a lot of the training is individual. Like it's like we've gone to strength training because we all have different schedules and so forth. So that is also happening. And, so when it's, because motivation, if we think of this, motivation is actually really scary because if you're right now highly motivated, right? The worry about that is motivation is fleeting. Motivation comes and goes. And motivation is almost emotional, right? Like it's a feeling. I feel motivated. And if you feel motivated, that's a high. That's like feeling good. And what do we know about motivation is there'll be days where you're not motivated. There's days where you don't have that high, where that energy swings the other way. And if we train and do good things when we're motivated and then don't train and do bad things when we're not motivated, we are going to be like what we call like emotionally unregulated. And your results are going to be the exact same. They're going to be up and down. And that for consistency and for adaptability, right? It's the worst thing. So yes, there are days we are still going to be motivated, but we got to be a result of our habits, right? And being so disciplined and consistent to those habits. Now, why is it sometimes super hard for people to be disciplined? Like discipline is not a military word, right? But why is that? And this is something that I help a lot of people with, and I do myself, is sometimes we just set routines and regimes that are just too hard, right? So then we have to feel the need to be super disciplined. It's like, why don't you just set a routine and a schedule that works with your life, that still helps you towards your goal, but you know that you can be disciplined to do it. Like it's a little stretch. It's like a little bit of effort. Like, it's not like immense. It's not like my whole life has to change. And, sometimes, and I say this too all the time, if we can't do the easy things, we're not going to do the hard things. So sometimes, even if we put the most easiest schedule in front of us, you still have to be disciplined to do that. Like discipline does not mean doing hard things all the time. It means these are the things that I said I'm going to do. Like it might be like I got to wake up at 7:30 every morning. Like it's not an extreme time. It's not the 4 a.m. club here, but it's like wake up at 7:30. Then like set your alarm, get out of bed. Don't sleep into 8 o'clock. Like if you're sleeping at 8 o'clock, like it's like be disciplined. I said I was going to walk for 20 minutes every morning. And you don't, because it's like, looks cold outside. Like you have to be disciplined. Like I said, I was going to weigh my food, but I don't. I need to be disciplined. Discipline equals freedom. And there is nothing more freeing, right? Knowing that you have stuck to the things that you said you're going to do. That's where progress lies. That's where, if you build that habit, you build that muscle, you're going to feel crazy good. And also, you're going to start to make huge amounts of progress on your journey. Okay, rule number 7. Be a student. Be a student. Now, this might be the biggest slap in the face for those who think they're actually really good. And I say that because we always need to be learning. We always need to be a student of everything. You're never going to be at a point where you know enough, you're good enough, and you just have nothing to learn. Now, there might be certain people that you feel like you don't have a lot to learn from, but that just means you're looking at the wrong places. Or if you're watching shows or podcasts or, like if you're listening to this podcast and you're still listening now, rule number 7, like give yourself a pat on the back right now. Like you are a student. You are someone who's like, I want to learn. I want to grow. I'm either in my car, I'm in my training, I'm on my run, and I choose to put something that teaches me to learn rather than just like needing the beats to motivate me as such. Or, I'm using this time to again get information, to learn about myself, to learn about how I can be better, to learn other people's experiences. You have to become a student. If we stop learning, that means that our brain, our programming, what we know will just keep producing the same result. So the rate that we learn, right? We need to learn. Now, this is the next thing. We need to learn, then we need to apply. We need to learn, then we need to apply. We need to learn, then we need to apply. I'm going to say it one more time. We're going to learn, then we need to apply. And that is how we truly then will make progress. And that's how we become a student. Because we learn something, we apply it, we feel it, we understand it, and now we make more progress. This can be, nutrition. This can be pacing. This can be techniques on the HYROX movements. Become obsessed. The more you become obsessed, right, the more you will master this. Now, there's one person in our group, and I'll share this story real quick. So Jordan Nakora Baker, he went from 100 kilos, just under 100 kilos. Now he weighs like 81 kilos. He went from very heavy set, right? He was never overweight, but very heavy set, to the most shredded human being I've ever seen. But he's also gone from someone who literally, and I sent him a message the other day, I was like, bro, I never thought he would be running. Like, he did a 10K run event the other day. He did it in like 37 minutes, 38 minutes, something, which is ridiculous. And he's killing HYROX. And he's just doing amazing things. And Jordan, I'm so proud of you, brother. And but one thing I've witnessed is, man, he's like, Jordan, you are an obsessive guy, and like for the best of reasons. But look at him, like he's like, I got to change my nutrition. Gets dialed in, right? Gets obsessed, right? Like, I've traveled with this guy. Brings his scales around everywhere. He weighs his tomato sauce. He does everything. But then he gets the result. Even now, he's at the peak of his HYROX game. And I've never seen someone analyze HYROX so in depth. And for myself as a coach, and where my strengths lies is I look at data a lot, but I don't necessarily always obsess over all the data, because I work with a lot of everyday people, and it's like these fundamentals are the things that I really put a lot of my attention into. When we start working with the high level athletes, you got to be really obsessive over everything. And Jordan and his results, like, he is doing race predictions from our race, him and Gab's race, and he's getting it like within 10 seconds. Like, this guy, like, he's watching old footage of courses and his layouts, and again, just an example of, if you really want to break through, what is the next level of obsession that you need to go to? Now, you don't need to quit your job and start studying 20 hours of HYROX film a day, but it's like, okay, I need to just learn more and get a little bit more obsessed about this thing that I'm trying to achieve. If you're a runner and you're struggling with like shin pain, example, right? It's like the amount of people who I know suffer with running and shin pain, and I'm like, have you watched like a YouTube video about it? And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, well, like if you're in pain and you're trying to run, like, learn. like put on YouTube. You know how many great videos there are of people explaining like the protocols and what to do and what could be happening? They just don't do it. And then they just keep compounding the issue. Or they go see a therapist. Therapist charges them $180 for 1 hour. Does one treatment, gives them all the information, and then they do nothing with it. You got to keep learning. You got to be obsessed about trying to solve your problem. Got to be obsessed about trying to improve my HYROX. Got to be obsessed about this goal. My goal. You have to be obsessed about your goal, right? That's the key. Everything in your life, you should be like, this is me, this is my goal, and I want to obsess about mastering it. So be a student, keep learning. Okay, rule number 8. Trust the process. Trust the process. Again, a lot of things that we're saying here, you can sort of see they all work in a line with each other, right? So one thing that I did is I had a plan, and so I knew my goal. I created a plan, and some days didn't feel like I was even making progress. Some days I just felt like the same. Some days I felt like, I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, why am I putting so much effort? Why am I, still here? Just blah, blah, blah. It's like, just trust the process. Just keep showing up. Keep following the path, right? Because progress doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes you need a stretch to a certain point. Then you need time at that point for it to become now a new normal, or for you now to be what used to be like maybe 90% effort now turns into 80, 70% effort, right? And sometimes you just need some time there, and then you start pushing further forward again. It's the way it works. Like, if you see those charts and those lines, it's big. Like, progress isn't linear. It's not just a straight line up. It's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Sometimes those downs can be there for a while, but you learn. You keep learning. You learn what made me go up. You learn what sort of slowed me down, because life is so evolving around us. Like, it is so dynamic. Like, it could be relationships, could be your workspace, time of year, holidays. So that's the thing as well, is we are like this person who's constantly got, all this energy moving around us, right? And all we are doing is we are navigating all the time. We're navigating everything all the time. And so that's why, sometimes, like a ship, going out into sea, is they know, all right, we're heading in this direction, but it doesn't know the storms, it doesn't know the weather, it doesn't know everything that's going to be thrown at it. And sometimes it could be like, there's a storm coming, but it's like, you know what? We got to keep going. We just got to keep going and trust that our vessel, our ship, is just going to get through it, right? And we'll be fine on the other side. And that's kind of exactly what's going to happen here with you and your training. Is sometimes don't try and know everything right away. Don't try, just be like, yeah, but if I want to know, I'm going to get it, or I'm not going to. It's like, that's the beautiful thing about life and this journey, is you got to set a goal, you got to start, and you got to just trust the process in full, do it to your full ability, and just know that, whatever result comes of it, right, will be the result, right? And yes, you're going to make your adjustments along the way. Yes, you're going to analyze the situation, right? But that's part of the process. It's the part of it is like, understand, like correcting the course of action a little bit as you go. Okay. So if you feel like, wherever you are, you're a bit uncertain, because I hear it as well. People they're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be fit enough. I don't know if I'm going to be ready like 8 weeks out. I'm like, you got 8 weeks. Like, there is still so much time. It's like, you need to be ready in 8 weeks. You do not need to be ready today, right? You need to be ready in 8 weeks. Trust the process, get to work, start training, right? And I guarantee if you apply yourself, right, you will feel ready. You will feel confident. All right, rule number 9. This was a huge lesson for me, massive lesson. Now I'm someone who's always ate really good. I eat a lot of good food. I don't eat a lot of processed stuff. But my nutrition, when it came to performance, was not where it needed to be. I would say this is probably one of the biggest differences in my training and my result, because Sydney HYROX, in our Sub-60 time, I felt like on fire the whole race. Like, I felt good. Like, I felt like I could run, and I felt fast, and I got out of stations like I'm fueled. Like, my body was like, go, go, go. Where in other races that I've done previous, I sort of had those moments where I'm like, I'm tired. Like, my body is hanging on. Like, this is hard, right? And a big part of that was 100% to do with fueling. Because again, like a lot of people coming into the race, like, I don't want to look fat, I don't want to look overweight. So, we're still eating, but we're being very mindful of all our food choices. And sometimes, we don't want to look super bloated and heavy, and you do all the rest of it. And it's a really hard balancing act. So what had to change here was I had to really understand what my fuel requirements were. And then I had to start tracking my food. Like, I had to raise my standards. I had to change my beliefs around fueling. And I was having around 200, 250 grams of carbohydrates. and I needed 450 grams for the output I was doing. It was ridiculous. So I actually started eating a little bit less protein, a little bit less fats, a lot less fats, and my body started to feel better, my training better, my sleep improved, and racing and my performance just skyrocketed, like in so many ways. So the lesson here and the biggest rule here is you need to stop under eating and you need to fuel properly. And I know there's a lot of people in this space that are learning and are having really great breakthroughs with this, because a lot of people have, they have some sort of, let's call it like a bad relationship with food. Some have eating disorders. Some don't want to touch a carbohydrate. So in this sport of HYROX and hybrid training, it's a performance space. You need fuel. Now, do you need to, have stupid amounts of carbohydrates and fuel? Well, no, because again, you don't need to overdo it if that's not your goal. But if you are massively under eating, so you are depleted on one side, then you are overexerting on the other side, it's a recipe for disaster. Not only for your race, not only for your results, but your hormones, your mental health, your physical health, and will create long-term problems. So if you really want to improve your training, improve your HYROX result, if you want to go to the next level, doesn't matter wherever you are, if you are not focusing on your your nutrition, and if you think you can just get away with it, or if you think, it doesn't really matter that much, or I kind of track, or I kind of roughly, it's like you are missing out. You are missing out so much on the gains and the benefits that you can achieve. So what I would strongly recommend is you understand, and you can jump online, you can chat GPT this, give it a description of who you are, what style of training you're doing, give it as much detail as you can, and ask, what are my macros? How much carbohydrates, fats, and proteins should I be consuming? It will give you a really great, starting point. And then your goal is to track your food every single day and try to be as consistent and as close to that as you can every day. And if you do that, you'll start to lose weight. You'll probably start to get abs eventually. You will start to find that all your training will improve, your sleeping will improve, your recovery will improve, your HYROX time will improve, right? And again, this goes for everyone. It's like if you're a really high level athlete and you're struggling just to shave that 30 seconds, that 1 minute, it could be your fueling strategy. Literally, it could be electrolytes, it could be hydration. It could just be little things like that, because these athletes that you see that are super shredded, on the day we had a chat, because we got a few guys in our group actually that are really shredded, like ridiculously. But they were like, it affected me on the sleds. Like I couldn't pull the sled as well as when I was fueling a little bit more, right? And why we noticed, because then they did fuel a bit more, put on a little bit of that weight again, like half a kilo to a kilo, but fueling better, and their strength increased, right? So again, there is a point where if you are too lean and if you're underdoing it too much, like it's gonna affect your race. Okay, rule number 10. We're getting there, guys. We're gonna wrap this thing up in a second. And if you're still listening, thank you. Like, this is a big episode, and there's a lot of truths here, right? And I really hope that these resonate with you in some way, shape, or form, because these are truly the things that have helped me continue to grow. So rule number 10 is you have to upgrade your identity. Nothing will work if you don't upgrade who you believe you are. The person who would say, I'm not fast enough, I'm not a runner, you got to let go of that. I'm never going to get sub-60. I'm not like them. I'm not elite. I'm just a normal person. It's like, change that. Change who you see yourself. Start to affirm who you are, how you want to show up, right? Start telling yourself, I am a runner. I can do HYROX. I will get my time, right? Everything about me, right, is that person. Like, I eat like that person. I sleep like that person. I interact like that person, right? You have to truly believe. Now, you don't start to do all those things and then you believe. You have to believe first, and then you will do those things. So for me, the belief of sub-60, and this is what failing has taught me, is failing has showed me that I am capable. It's like, oh, I almost got it. It's right there. I can do this. I failed again, but I got closer. You know what? That gave me more belief. My failures led me to believing that I was capable. It was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. I kept upgrading. I kept chipping away, and I knew I'm right there. I'm right there. It's gonna happen. And it happened. It's as simple as that. You have to upgrade your identity. You have to see failure as part of the journey. But let failure be the measuring tool. Am I close to it? Am I not close to it? Am I getting close? Am I there? I can do this. You know, if I was 10 minutes off, okay, what does that mean? Cool, I'm 10 minutes off. That's well away. But that means I got a lot of upgrades. I got a lot of things to work on. Now I'm 5 minutes off. Look what just happened. I just took 5 minutes off my goal. I'm becoming that person. Like, don't see failure as a setback. See it as you're constantly upgrading who you believe you are. You know, you might not feel like an athlete. You don't need to feel like an athlete. You're a human being, right? You are you. Doesn't mean you can't run a fast HYROX, right? So keep upgrading it, right? Never stop, never quit. Just keep telling yourself, be your biggest supporter, not your harshest critic, right? And that belief, right? You got to believe. You got to lead with that faith. You got to lead with that belief, right? And if you do that, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. All right, guys. So again, this was a huge reflection on the 10 things, the 10 areas that really, really made the difference along my journey to sub-60. Now, with this result, there are going to be many more talkings about this, because here, this is kind of like the overarching principles, mindsets that are needed. And this is 90% of the result. Like, it really is you can have the world's best training program, but if you can't display these things in it, you're not going to get the result. What I will do in some of our upcoming episodes is I will talk about some of the strategies, some of the tactics. Actually, I'll talk about the running sessions and the strength training and the things that we actually did. But I really want you to digest this. I want you to see what areas or what rules here that you believe you need to work on and focus on, right? And start applying this, right? So wherever you are on your journey, that's the biggest thing. Come back to you. Come back to where you are. Where am I today, right? And where am I going? Get excited about that. Get excited about your future self, right? See it as already done in your mind. It's just a matter of time. And that is the path. That is the journey, right? You know you're going to get there. I appreciate all of you, the listeners and supporters of Hybrid Heroes, right? And the people especially who have been with us from the start. I thank you. I love to do this podcast because I get to share the journey with you. So you get to see how real it is and what we go through, because what I go through, what the people around me go through, what is exactly the same as what you'll go through. There is nothing different about all of us. I like to think for most people, I'm just a little bit further ahead, and I share that insight. So have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next episode.